Hi, welcome back to the EV Life podcast. I'm Crystal.
I'm Hannah Neal.
And today we were joined by Abdel Ali, who is the CEO and founder of Kiwi Charge.
Yeah, so Kiwi Charge, this whole episode is about autonomous charging. So it's a really interesting topic that we haven't covered before. And Kiwi Charge basically has created a robot using AI technology to be able to charge your car without you having to do anything on your own.
Yeah, and this looks like a really promising solution to multi-residential unit buildings where, a lot of older buildings don't have EV charging infrastructure, and it can be quite costly to install those. And so this is basically offering a solution for those buildings at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, there's cost savings there, and then, just benefits to both EV drivers and the building owners. So, yeah.
And the tech is kind of cool. So Abdel explains what that looks like. And I hope you enjoy my conversation with him. And as always, if you have any thoughts on this episode or any of our other episodes, you can connect with us and other listeners in the EV Life group on the AMA mobile app. Enjoy the episode. Hi, Abdel. Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Well, let's just start off by you introducing yourself. Tell our audience who you are and what your role is at Kiwi Charge.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the founder and CEO of Kiwi Charge. Started the company about 2 years ago. Actually, we celebrated our 2-year anniversary, our birthday last week. So it's been quite a journey.
How did you get into this space?
Yeah, so my background was originally in finance, and then I worked in the venture capital space investing in startups. So worked for a firm called Relay Ventures and interned at another firm called Elite Partners. And we invested in fintech, sports tech, prop tech, and mobility. And after that, I worked for a venture studio where my 9 to 5 was building startups. So, very familiar with the startup journey. And it was a personal experience that got me to pursue this journey. So wanted to get an electric vehicle. And at the time, I lived in an older building. So EV charging was not an option. Our building was too expensive, and there was a lot of red tape that prevented EV adoption. And what I ended up doing was kind of going down the rabbit hole of looking at other solutions out there. I just figured it can't be unique, and this has to be a big problem. And that journey got me to realize this is a big problem that's not adequately being addressed by the market right now. And that's where I began pursuing a solution, and Kiwi charges that.
So that segments perfectly into my next question. And can you just tell us what exactly Kiwi Charge is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kiwi Charge, we're a robotics AI startup, and the problem we're solving is around EV charging infrastructure in buildings. There are many hurdles preventing EV adoption in buildings. It's expensive, it's time consuming, and the chargers, once they are installed, they're extremely underutilized, resulting in low return on investment. And that's where we come in. So at Kiwi Charge, we're developing an autonomous charger that's able to navigate the parking lot and charge an electric vehicle wherever it's parked. It's like a smart Roomba for EV charging. And with one robot, we replace 30 level 2 chargers at 40% of the cost. So it's just a compelling value proposition for buildings.
That's pretty impressive. So I'm trying to wrap my head around this autonomous charging. So basically what comes to mind, there are some restaurants now that use these robots that kind of like go around to the tables and drop off the trays and picks them up. Is it similar to that? Is it just like a robot sort of roaming the parking lot?
Yeah, it's quite similar to that. So one of the things we do is we map out the parking lot of the building. So the robot knows exactly where it is, and it knows exactly where every parking spot is. So when a customer subscribes to our service, the robot will be able to go to their parking spot, charge their vehicles, level 3 charging. So it'll take about half an hour to maybe 45 minutes, depending on the size of the battery, to charge the vehicle. And then once the vehicle is charged, it's either going to go to charge the next vehicle, or it's going to go back to its charging dock to charge itself. So throughout the night, the bulk of the charging happens at night. So throughout the night, the robot will be going back and forth, charging multiple vehicles.
And so how is it, because I'm thinking of like the plug-in cars.
Yeah.
Is the robot plugging in the charger? Like how
Yes.
sorry, this is so fascinating
great
to me.
question. So Yeah, that's a great question. So that's part of the innovation that we created. So we have our own proprietary cable that lives in the client's trunk. So when the client parks their vehicle, they'll just open their trunk. They'll connect one end of the charging port or the proprietary cable to the charging port of the car, and the other end will hang from the trunk or the front. And then the robot will come later on in the day and connect to that. We have different variations of that, but that's the universal. That's the plug and play version. You just put in your trunk. It's simple, Velcroed. You can do it in probably 5 minutes, and you're basically ready to get a charge anytime, the same day.
Are other companies doing this? Is this brand new?
Yeah, not a lot of companies are doing this. So when it comes to the EV charging space, probably 99% of the competitive landscape is companies putting in traditional fixed charging infrastructure. But you are seeing a few competitors that are approaching it in our way, with the robotics way. A lot of the innovation is coming out of Asia. You're seeing a few competitors in the US, but I believe we're the only company in Canada. And our approach, we think, one of the things we did is we looked at the entire landscape. We saw what everyone else is doing, everywhere from Europe, Asia to the US. And we saw what the flaws are. And we basically refined our solution to come up with what we truly believe is the best solution in the market.
And how do these autonomous chargers compare to those traditional, charging infrastructure?
Yeah, it's our value proposition is compelling. So once, we address the problem from a different lens, and what we realize is we basically removed a lot of constraints that hinders traditional fixed chargers. So the biggest competitive edge is the cost basis. Everybody loves paying 40%, less than half of what you would pay if you were to install fixed chargers. But we think that's just the tip of the iceberg. A big value proposition is the flexibility and scalability of our solution. So traditionally in buildings, you'll have to install these projects as maybe 5 or 6 or 10 chargers at any given time. But what happens is once those chargers are installed, they're either underutilized, you don't have enough EVs to meet the demand, or very soon they're going to be overutilized and you're going to need to have more chargers to meet the demand. Once you install chargers, people buy electric vehicles. That's one thing we learned. With our solution, we're very flexible. If we're in your building, if tomorrow you decide to get an EV, the same day we can charge your car. There's no need to have someone come in, upgrade the electrical room, get the fixed charging infrastructure set up. You just tell us where your parking spot is. You go to the management office, you pick up the proprietary cable, and you're pretty much set. There's a few things onboarding that's part of the process, but it's a very seamless experience. So we scale as demand increase. And each robot can service about 30 vehicles or service 30 customers. It's not 30 at the same day, but we manage the demand. And once you hit that capacity, or the robot is at capacity, then what we do is we bring in another robot. So you can double the capacity just by us bringing in a robot. And the same infrastructure that charges that first robot can charge the other robot. So while one robot is servicing vehicles, the other one is charging. So it's very scalable. And only once you hit 60, or when the 2 robots are at capacity, only then do you have to install another charger to charge the robot. So it's very scalable. And there's a lot of benefits to this form factor. Without going into much details.
So I'm just really curious how this works in terms of requesting the service. Is the request coming from the EV owner, or does it come from the building owners or managers?
Yeah, great question. So currently we partner with property management companies and also developers. So we're looking at some pilots with developers. And this is an amenity that needs to be in place in the building and for EV owners to access it. So what we're doing right now is we're actually testing out 2 different models. The first one is the building would outright buy the charging infrastructure and install it in the building. So in that case, they'll be looking at 2 different options: setting up fixed charging infrastructure versus setting up our solution. And by far, we would win because of the cost basis. That's the biggest driver, but it does offer a better customer experience. So once we are in the building, then EV owners are able to subscribe to our service, it's a monthly fee, and we scale as more people get electric vehicles. So that's the model we're going to market with right now. But the other one that we're exploring is because our cost basis is so low, so 40% is what we charge the buildings, but our cost base is actually much lower. And we're actively exploring that, is we finance the infrastructure. We come into the building, we set up all the infrastructure, And now there's a new amenity in the building, and EV owners in the buildings are able to subscribe to our service. So we're exploring both, but we do have to, there is some slight infrastructure cost that needs to happen. And that infrastructure cost is essentially the charging infrastructure to charge the robot itself. Okay. And where our edge is basically you don't have to run the conduits to every parking spot that EV charging is needed. Or if you're looking at having dedicated EV charging spots, you don't need that anymore. People can park at their regular parking spots, and now you have valuable assets. Those parking spots do command a premium.
Nice. And so, and all of the chargers are level 3?
Yes. So they are level 3, but one of the things we're looking at is having it level 3 or level 2, depending on the vehicles. 99% of the vehicles are able to take a level 3 charging. But one of the things we're learning is, you do get that very, very rare case where the vehicle is not able to take level 3. So we're exploring what makes sense for those edge cases.
And so I know you're based in Ontario. Are there plans to expand to other provinces?
Absolutely. We're Canadian made, and we're eyeing all provinces. Our solution is really well suited for urban dense areas. So we're looking at buildings. What we say is we want to see a building with at least 30 parking spots. The robot can do 30 vehicles. So we want to at least have a road path towards having a robot that's fully utilized.
And are you close to expanding? Because our audience is primarily based in Alberta, and we have had a lot of listeners reach out and say, what are solutions for EV owners living in condo buildings and apartment buildings that don't have charging infrastructure? So I'm sure there will be a lot of interest and people wondering when this will come to Alberta. So is it in the near future, or are we still figuring that out?
So we're a hardware startup. So near future for us is the next year and a half. It's we're Ontario based for now. So we're focusing on major cities in Ontario, but we're looking at rest of Canada as soon as we're able to meet that demand. Well, so be on the lookout for us very soon.
Well, this was such a great conversation, Abdel. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and chatting with me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we hope to see you in Alberta soon.
Very soon. We'll make it happen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the EV Life podcast. Make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if you'd like to join the conversation, you can always do so in the EV Life group on the AMA mobile app. We'll talk to you in the next episode.